All right, kids, I am here to briefly teach you about finding the domain and range of functions. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is which. Okay, so you have domain, which I'm specifically writing this way because the domain is only talking about x values. Okay, and then you have the range. Please note that I am writing this way because it only deals with y values. Okay, so the range talks about where something begins as far as how low it is to where something ends as far as how high it is. Okay, so the lowest that it touches to the highest that it touches. Well, the domain goes left to right, so it's the furthest left that it touches to the furthest right that it touches. Okay, so when we write domain and range, we usually write it like an interval. Okay, so I am going to start with the domain for this function right here. And I'm going to show you that I would write it with x in the middle and less than signs on both sides because that's how we do intervals, right? It's saying that x is between two numbers. You always want the smaller one on the left and the larger one on the right. So I have to figure out where's the furthest left of this thing. So I'm going to use a highlighter, and I'm going to show that it goes from here to here. Okay, and I'm going to highlight along the x-axis because those are the values that I want. So I can see that it starts at back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Starts at -7. That's the start point right here. And it doesn't go past this value here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. +6. Okay? Now, another thing that you might note is that this is a closed circle and this is a closed circle. We have learned when dealing with inequalities that if there is a closed circle, we need to include an equal sign. Okay, because it means that it includes that value that it's touching. All right, but then the range is going to talk about the bottom to the top. So for the range, I'm still writing the same way with the less than signs, but we're talking about y values now. So instead of x in the middle, I'm going to put a y. All right, and then I'm going to figure out where's the bottom of this. It's here. It's the lowest that this thing goes. And where is the top? It goes all the way up to here. Now, notice that the end points of my function are not necessarily the top or the bottom. It's these dips here. It's actually the relative max and the relative min. So you're not always looking at the endpoints, you're just looking at literally how high it goes, like what's the highest point of it and what's the lowest point of it. So same thing, you want to start with the smaller number, so I'm going to go to the bottom first, which is 1, 2, 3, -4. Okay, and it goes up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, wrong thing, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it goes to +8. Now in this case, there are no circles here, so I'm not going to include the equal signs. I'm just going to leave it as the less than. Okay, so that is how you find the domain and range of a function. So let's try it again on another function that I have down here. I'm going to say the domain is and the range is. So if I'm doing domain, then I want x. If I want range, I want y. Okay, and x goes left to right. So this thing, the furthest left that it goes is over here, and the furthest right that it goes is over here. So what x values are those? Back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -7 again. And this value here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, +7. Okay, that is the domain. Now again, I have closed circles in these spots, so I'm going to add those equal to signs. And then I'm going to look at the range. So again, in this case, my endpoints are not my highest and my lowest point. So that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking up here and down here. So the smaller number would be the negative, the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So negative 9 is where it begins. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is where it stops. And it's not quite 6. But I'm going to write 6 because I'm not putting equal to signs. So I could say it goes up to 6. Okay, so that's domain and range. You'll be trying some of that on your own, but I do want to show you one more situation because it's a little bit different. Please note what is different? The arrow. Okay? An arrow tells me that this function is continuously forever and ever going in this direction, which is to negative infinity for the domain, but also to negative infinity for the range because it's going down and it's going left. So for this one, you could do this two ways, right? If I was going to write the domain left to right, I could still do my x with less thans, except this time the furthest left that this thing is going is to negative infinity. And it stops here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, positive 7. Okay, and that has a closed circle, so I can leave the I can put the equal to sign. Now, you can write it like this. You could leave it like this, but the fact is, because this is negative infinity, we don't necessarily need to show a number. We just need to show that x is less than or equal to 7, which means that it goes on in that direction forever. So leaving this would not be wrong, but when you have an infinity, you don't really need that chunk. It insinuates that it's going on forever with just this piece. Okay, so let's talk about the range then. Range is y. I got my less thans. Where is it starting? We don't know. It's going on and on and on and on and on. So that's going to be negative infinity. And the top of it is up here. That's the highest that it goes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Y is less than 6. Notice there is a closed circle on that spot, so I can put the equal to sign. All right? And same thing, because it's going to negative infinity, this is insinuated in y less than equal to 6. So you can write it just like that, or you could leave the infinity. That's up to you. All right, so that is domain and range in a nutshell for functions. Hope that helps. Oh my God.